Good evening and welcome to the LaRouche Movement's weekly battle report. Today is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Happy Lunar New Year. The January 30th release of 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images from the Epstein investigation files, the total number of pages now at 3.5 million, has exposed many people in the highest ranks of society and government as sick criminals. So many people and in such high positions of power have been exposed that governments are threatened to come down, including the government of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The release of the files has sparked a growing movement in the United States demanding transparency to discover the crimes associated with Epstein and accountability for those crimes. A movement described by Helga LaRouche as pre-revolutionary. Meanwhile, this past week also saw the START, Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, the New START Treaty, between the US and Russia, designed to limit nuclear weapons proliferation, expire. And the very bad Trump administration policies toward Venezuela, Palestine, and Cuba continue to unfold. At the same time, the physical economies of the Western nations continue to collapse under the weight of a $2.4 quadrillion financial bubble. What can we do to address this? How can we stay free from analysis paralysis, waiting around for the next shoe to drop? How can we stay optimistic about the beautiful potential of humanity? How do we get out in front of the situation and put forward ideas and solutions to shape a new international security and development architecture for the good of all mankind? Tonight's report includes 4 videos of intervention from this past week from the LaRouche movement. We will see excerpts from a press conference given by independent presidential candidate Diane Sare to address the expiration of the New START Treaty. Then an update from the congressional campaign of Jose Vega, whose campaign is giving people the insight that they can and must declare their independence from the Epstein class. Then an important update from Mexico, where yesterday members of the LaRouche movement participated in a forum on Mexico-Venezuela friendship. Then we will conclude with an important cultural update from France, where the Schiller Institute Chorus has been involved in bringing beauty with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony to the people. We begin now. Last Thursday, February 5th, 2026, saw the expiration of the New START Treaty between the US and Russia, which treaty limited nuclear weapons proliferation. Stepping into the vacuum of sane leadership from the current US administration, independent presidential candidate Diane Sare held a press conference titled "For a New Start" to outline a 3-point program to be adopted by the United States. The hour-long press conference was held over Zoom. It was moderated by veteran talk show host Garland Nixon, and it was addressed by arms control expert Scott Ritter and by presidential candidate Diane Sare. We will now watch some of the major points from Ritter's remarks, Sare's introduction, and her concluding summary of her 3-point program.
Today, unfortunately, the issue is the expiration of the last remaining strategic arms control agreement between the United States and Russia. This marks the end of 54 years of a legacy of arms control. Now, Donald Trump is talking about a grand bargain, but a grand bargain doesn't happen overnight. The complexity of trying to do a trilateral agreement and understanding if you're going to bring the Chinese into the mix, you got to bring the French and British into the mix, and they haven't even been approached yet. This is pie in the sky stuff. And who trusts the United States anymore? Nobody wants a deal. A deal can be broken. A treaty is binding. We need a treaty, but we no longer have people capable of negotiating this treaty. Nobody trusts American negotiators. We are literally in a vacuum, a deficit of trust at a time when we need arms control more than ever. What we need is leadership that has a vision of arms control, that believes in real arms control, not a deal, but the hard work of sitting down and making the world safer. And I believe that leader is Diane Sare.
So we've heard, as both of you mentioned, that they're talking about, and they even said in the press, informal extension of New START. And that doesn't even begin until the day after it expires. So frankly, this is rather insulting. It is not serious, and it's far from adequate. We cannot continue this way. It has to change. And I would reiterate what I said, which is, one, there has to be a declaration of no first use of nuclear weapons. I don't think people would necessarily believe the United States, but we should say it. Right now, we're not even saying it. We say whenever we feel like it, or what, I mean, it's deliberately vague, which makes things very dangerous. Two, that the entire system in which we are having these discussions is outmoded. We have to recognize that the transatlantic financial system of relations among nations is completely defunct, obsolete, doesn't work. And I'm not saying the UN doesn't work. I concur with Scott. In case that wasn't clear, we need the United Nations. The Board of Peace should not be allowed, and no one should even consider that as a replacement. I think is probably designed to undermine it. We need the United Nations. It needs to reflect better the configuration of the world today. And then finally, the question of projects that we can embark on with Russia for mutual benefit for the people of Russia and the people of the United States, the Bering Strait Tunnel and Strategic Defense of Earth. Both of these not only would benefit the people of Russia and the United States, I will add, but will benefit the human race as a whole. And I think when it comes down to it, that's actually what Americans want. We want our nation to be good. In our little short slice of time that we're here on Earth, we would like to do something that makes the world a better place and makes life better for future generations. And that is what everyone should dedicate themselves to doing.
Now to an update from the congressional campaign of Jose Vega in New York's 15th Congressional District, the Bronx, which campaign is inspiring people around the whole country to see a candidate who is not a sellout, not a tool of the parties. In this video posted by Jose on X this past Monday, Jose shows real leadership in indicating how we can fight against the corruption that has been exposed in the Epstein files. It's not merely by reading the files. Jose urges that you declare your independence from the Epstein class.
I look at this Epstein story and I realize that a lot of what's coming out happened decades ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Long before any of this was revealed, Epstein was having fun, socializing, and was friends with some of the most powerful people in the world, influencing a lot of these people. And as a result, these people were influencing our lives without our knowledge and without our consent. And this was happening at the same time before and after 9/11. This means that some of the most impactful and influential decisions that shaped entire generations, 2 generations to be exact, were done by people who were never elected and were never held accountable, but were powerful all the same. People love to criticize the American founding fathers. And yes, they were flawed. I don't doubt that. But they did something. They wrote the Declaration of Independence. They didn't pretend tyranny didn't exist. They challenged it. They wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And they went further, talking about the need to overthrow governments that are destructive of these ends, or that reduce people to absolute despotism, and that it is their right to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future, their future security. And here's the truth. We tolerated this. So this, right now, is our battle. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's a diagnosis. That's true. The real problem isn't that only oligarchs aren't being held to account. The deeper problem is that we aren't holding ourselves accountable. That's the essence of what we're doing here with our campaign in the Bronx. We're giving people an ability to bring tyrants to justice. And we're not doing that by crossing our arms. We're doing that through action, through being in the streets, for every door we knock. That's what we're doing. We are waking up the people to declare their independence again.
Now we go to Mexico, where we have our weekly organizing report. Fabiola Ramirez reports from the Chamber of Deputies in Mexico City, where yesterday members of the LaRouche movement participated in a forum of the Mexico-Venezuela Friendship Group.
Hello, friends. I am Fabiola Ramirez from the LaRouche organization, and this is a report from Mexico City. With the aim of delivering the declaration of January 12th, let us create a movement of world citizens. Today, we attended a meeting of the Mexico-Venezuela Friendship Group in the Chamber of Deputies in Mexico City, convened by members of the Labor Party. These party members are the only ones in Congress who have shown solidarity with Cuba, Palestine, and Venezuela. Among other things, the speakers stated that a non-aggressive, unarmed, and peaceful nation had been attacked. They said that what sanctions, mercenaries, and covert operations failed to achieve, bombs accomplished in total violation of international law. It was also said that in the victory speech of the invasion, they never mentioned freedom or democracy, while mentioning oil 22 times. And in a couple of meetings that followed, this time with people from civil society, the issue of Palestine was also discussed. They showed interest in promoting UN Resolution 377 entitled United for Peace and the Oasis Plan, among other things. This is all for now. Saludos, and until next time.
Gracias, Fabiola. Now to France, where we made a cultural intervention, very important one. This month, the Schiller Institute Chorus of France, along with 2 other choruses, worked together to pull together 3 concerts of Beethoven's 9th Symphony with full chorus and a partial orchestra. This is the symphony that features the Ode to Joy, a lengthy poem by Friedrich Schiller, in which the audience is urged to consider that the most beautiful tones take place in the vision in which all men are brothers. These concerts were not held in expensive concert halls with seasoned concert goers with gray hair. They were held in churches and gymnasiums to bring the music and the science of it to the people. Attendees were people who don't usually go to classical music concerts, but they were very enthusiastic, underscoring a ferment for a new cultural renaissance. We now have a couple very short clips from two of the concerts, one held near Père-Lachaise in Paris and the other at the Basilica Notre Dame of Perpetual Help in Ménilmontant, Paris. I'm sure it sounded even more fantastic in person. So tonight we saw the LaRouche movement demonstrating leadership. Not just analysis, though we do a fantastic job of that. TLO LaRouche Organization President Harley Schlanger has produced in the recent period tremendous material on the unfolding developments around the Epstein investigation. You can find those in the EIR Daily Alert. If you're not subscribed, do so now. The TLO morning video updates and Saturday Manhattan meeting broadcasts. Today at 11 a.m., Helga Zepp-LaRouche interviewed Ray McGovern on the Epstein scandal, the last chapter of oligarchism, for EIR News. If you haven't yet seen these or subscribed to the EIR News YouTube channel, EIR News is now producing regular, top-tier interviews on almost a daily basis. But the LaRouche movement goes beyond analysis. You saw tonight independent presidential candidate Diane Sare stepping into a vacuum of leadership on nuclear arms control to propose a valid solution. Jose Vega getting his constituents an idea of how they might rise above the disgusting muck of the oligarchical class. We saw the LaRouche movement in Mexico participating in deliberations between nations that were based on compassion and goodwill. And we saw the cultural intervention from the LaRouche movement in France bringing Beethoven to the people. So join us in this great work over the coming week. You can send in your reports. Text is okay, but preferably with photos, with video statements live from where you've made your intervention. Send those in, please, to info@laroucheorganization.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next